Hi, this is Mario Guerra, the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey, and you're listening, Talking Downey with Mayor Mario. Hi, folks. How is everything? I hope you're doing well leading up into this Holy Week. I wanted to show something pretty special that happened to me personally, and you know me, I'm a kid when it comes to baseball. I love politics, and this was too good not to share. I'm going to tell it like a story, okay, because I'm still excited about it. I was so jumping up and down almost literally when I got it. So last Friday, okay, I got an email, okay, that starts off with, "Dear Mr. Guerra, please see your invitation below for the celebration of the 2024 World Series champions, the Los Angeles Dodgers, to be held on the South Lawn at the White House on Monday, April 7th at 11 a.m. This invitation is individual to you and non-transferable. Let us know." And then comes the actual invitation. Says, "The president requests the pleasure of your company to celebrate the 2024 World Series champions, Los Angeles Dodgers, to be held at the White House on Monday, April 7th at 11 a.m. Yes, I got an invitation to go back to the White House and to be there with the Los Angeles Dodgers celebrating our world championship. It was awesome. So the whole time I was excited, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to get a plane. So when you start checking planes and you're leaving in 20 hours, I'm exaggerating, I was leaving in 30 hours. Everything's booked up, but I got a flight. I was all excited, left Sunday morning. Here's the issue, okay? I owe Father Tony Gomez a big one for this. On Sunday, I was supposed to preach at the 9 a.m. and the 10:45 masses. They were two different masses. One was a scrutiny mass at 9 and a different reading at 10:45. So I had prepared. I'd done my homilies and so forth. And then I had to call Father Tony and says, "Father Tony, I can't preach either one of these on Sunday. This is a special thing. I got to leave on Sunday to get there by Monday morning. I'm so sorry. I owe you one." And he was at a retreat, and it was hard for him to think of that because he had taken the week off because I was going to be preaching for him. So anyways, so remind me I owe Father Tony a few favors. So I get there on Sunday night. I'm still excited, tired, but excited. And I made sure I had 3 different alarms for Monday morning, okay? I got a hotel, the Hilton, close to the White House, but it was supposed to rain on Monday morning, 100% rain. So they had sent us an email, it was being moved inside. But we still had to wait outside for about 10 minutes. So I get there, I'm the 4th person in line for 10 a.m. While we're waiting. By the time it got finished, there's 50 people in line behind me. These are all going to the Dodgers. Everybody's wearing suits. I found my best blue tie that I could. I had bought an umbrella at the hotel, so I had it. I figured they wouldn't let me in with it. I'd throw it away, but actually it was pretty simple. So get let in. So just to let everybody know, there's a lot of process, and anybody can really visit the White House. Go to your congressman. They can get you tickets. This was a special interest in a special way, but it was good. So once you give them your driver's license, they take a picture of you. It was pretty smooth because it already had to be reserved in there. When the email came back to me, I had to give them my social security number, my date of birth, all that information. So they run in backgrounds. And actually, I would want that in my White House or for my country. So I was fine with that. So they check it on there. There's another checkpoint. You give them your driver's license, in and out, go right on in, sir. They had a sniffing dog there. You walk by, and the dog is trying to sniff you to see for any explosives or any drugs or so forth. I think it's more for explosives. I passed that, and guess what? I'm now in the east door of the White House. And you're walking in. I've been to the White House many times, but you're still, listen, came as a little refugee, okay, escaping communism. And I'm in the east, going in the east wing of the White House. It's pretty cool. Okay. Everybody there is super nice. There's a lot of captains and second lieutenants there from the Army in full dress uniform, greeting you, helping you along. There's one, you check in your umbrella, they give you a little ticket, and now you're free to roam the east side of the White House. And I walked by, took some pictures, saw some things, saw the different china in the china room and things like that. So I go upstairs, and now you're walking into the East Room. Well, right there in that hallway that you see that a president always runs on that red carpet. So there's a couple of portraits on the wall. There's JFK, there's President Obama, and there's President Reagan. So I did notice, and I took a photo next to the President Reagan one, and I had another photo of it before, and it's a different portrait. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. It's a different one for Ronald Reagan. And I found out the story later. So we go inside the East Room, and I was there early enough. I got in the front row, if you will, for the backside. And it was fun. I was there with Jessica Milan Patterson, the former chairwoman of the California Republican Party. I was there with Brian Watkins, the former executive director, Krista Pittman, which is now works for the RNC. She was the political director for the California GOP. And then all these different friends came by. So you had Congresswoman Young Kim, which I consider a dear friend, former Congresswoman Michelle Steele, with her husband Sean Steele, the National Committee man, and Congressman Kevin Kiley, all these friends that we know each other from California that were kind of specifically picked to go there and to be there for that. And it was just fun. Then two of my favorite people that I've ever known, okay, they're just really good people, and one of the smartest congressmen is Congressman Jay Abernathy. Congressman Jay Abernathy served in the assembly up in Sacramento, and we served on the board of the California GOP, and his wife, Heather. And his wife, Heather, is amazing. She really is. Great people. Anyway, so I started talking to them, and of course we all took some selfies. No matter who you are, no matter what position, it's still exciting to be in the White House. It's double more exciting to be there with the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? You're going to get to see the team with the president. It was a pretty cool experience. So we were talking before it starts, and it was Heather Abernathy that had told me the story. Number one is that portrait of Reagan. The reason the original portrait is no longer there is because President Trump took it with him and put it into the Oval Office. So it's now hanging in the Oval Office, and they put a different portrait of President Reagan. So that was interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't see that until I went into the Oval Office, and you could see it there. So then she also told me a story. She had been there 3 times in the last week, so I thought that was kind of neat in itself. Was the Lincoln family, Abraham Lincoln's family. There's a special portrait in one of the rooms, but their request was that President Lincoln's portrait would not be alongside any other presidents, that he would have a room to himself. So interesting facts. I thought it was great. So now we're waiting for the Dodgers, and then they make the big announcement, and the Dodgers start coming in. Now, we know all the Dodgers. It's kind of interesting to see which ones we don't recognize because they don't have their hats on. That's just something that I thought was funny. But one of my dear friends on the Dodgers is the traveling secretary, Scott Agasaki. I was blessed. I did his wedding, his family, his wife's family, and them, and they live next door to my house. So I've known them since they were kids, and his wife used to spend the night at our house with our daughters. Anyway, so it's a close relationship, but he's the traveling secretary for the Dodgers. Like I said, I performed his wedding up at Carmel Mission. So it was neat to see him. I couldn't get his attention then because, you got all the lights of the cameras flashing at you. So the team comes out. It was very nice, and the president comes out. He was very eloquent, congratulated them, told a couple George Steinbrenner stories because of the good ownership, the difference in ownership that the Dodgers have versus how Steinbrenner, that used to own the Yankees, was a hothead and would fire people, and the Dodgers don't do that. Commented about Dave Roberts, our manager, probably the greatest manager to ever wear the Dodger uniform. And arguably that's probably true, even though we've had some great ones. And you guys know my deep love for Tommy Lasorda. But this success we're having now is unprecedented. He talked about Shohei Ohtani, gave a little story, talked about Kershaw, also talked about Mookie Betts, and Mookie was very nice, and the president turned around, went back to him and shook his hand. It was a lovely event, okay? It was really nice. The president was in great spirits, read mostly off a script for the stats, but still invited the whole team back to the Oval Office. So the whole event there was, 40 some odd minutes and stuff. It was just, you're on a high. I took a lot of pictures. We're going to share it. I'll share the pictures of the invitation. I'll share the pictures of being there. I did get a selfie myself. So then I lingered in some of the other rooms, right, while the team was going around the rest of the White House. So over on the East Wing, when you have to go out, so I kind of lingered. I was looking at some portraits and reading some things on the walls. I went to the presidential library down there. That's it's a presidential. It's a library that's in the Oval Office. It's not a presidential library. But I've been there before, so I sat there, have a nice photo take. And by the way, so I did go. There's a restroom there. Very, very nice restroom. Amazing restroom. Okay, so I did play little kid on here. So when I'm drying my hands, and you go to it, and these are the towels, the little hand towels that they have there. They're solid, they're thick, they're really cool. They got the presidential seal. So yes, I took this towel. It would have gone in the trash. So I put this in my back pocket, and I have the seal of the president of the United States on this really cool hand towel. I know, if you're laughing at me, first of all, I didn't steal government property because I did wash my hands and it was to throw away next. Number two, yes, I am like a little kid. And number three, yes, it's corny, it's childish, it's fun. I'm sorry. I will keep this little hand towel from the office of the president. So I lingered downstairs and I was waiting to see Scott. Scott and I had texted the next day, the day before Scott Agasaki, and I wanted to, and he wanted to take a selfie together, that we were there together. It's still a monumental moment, even though these people have traveled the world. And, Scott is great friends with all the Dodgers, obviously. He's their traveling secretary. So I'm by the door, and then all of a sudden, here comes the team. And I look at Shohei Ohtani. They gave him a swag bag, and he's literally with an interpreter. He's worth $1 billion or more, right? And he's looking through the swag bag like a little kid. I thought that was kind of cool. I took a photo, and make sure we put that photo there, Brandon, on that particular one. That's just a really cool photo that I happened to get. So then I see Scott. So Scott comes up, and we take a selfie. I took a picture of the coin, the presidential coin. It's as big as his hand. I thought I had large challenge coins. President obviously has something even bigger. And then we took a selfie, and then here comes Dave Roberts. So I reminded Dave Roberts, number one, we're both Bruins. And number two, I had brought General Funk to meet with him and Lieutenant Colonel Victor Shen at the Dodgers last year when they were here. And General Funk had hosted Dave Roberts when he was the commander at Fort Hood. General Funk is literally a 4-star general. There weren't that many 4-star generals before or after. He just retired this year. So Dave Roberts says, oh my gosh, what a great man General Funk is. I'm so glad you made that connection and so forth, and let's go Bruins and so forth. Anyways, I took a selfie with him. It was just a cool moment. I had a connection there with Dave Roberts. So I just had to share that. He probably is one of the greatest managers to ever wear the Dodger blue, and he'll be around for a long time. Classy man. Will Smith and Max Muncy were nice. We came and took a selfie. And then I just kind of hung in with Scott until it was time to go, and the players went on their bus, and I was still in the White House grounds, and I was like a little kid leaving there, and I had lunch across the street, and I just thought it was a beautiful, beautiful moment. So believe it or not, I had to go back to my hotel. I had to do some Zoom calls, work-wise. Somehow you got to pay the bills. I went back to my hotel room, and then that night we had gotten tickets. Jessica and Brian and myself and another friend, we had gotten tickets to go see the Washington Nationals game. So we went over there, had a nice dinner right across, went to the Washington Nationals game. Shohei Ohtani almost hit for the cycle. The only thing, he got a single, he got a triple, and he had a home run. and his last at bat, they walked him, which shows you what a team player he is. He could have tried to hit and try to get that double to make the full cycle, but we needed the run. So he walked. It was first and third. We were down by 2 runs, and Mookie made it out. So that was the game. So we lost by 2 runs on a couple errors early on in the game. So that would have just been the icing. Listen, we're still the World Series champion Dodgers. We still got an amazing record. We're going to be fine. But it would have been like the cherry on top, right, to win the game the day of the White House. And all the naysayers saying, see, you already jinxed with the White House. Folks, the White House is the people's house. I don't care who was president. My first time being in there was with President Clinton, and I was in the Oval Office and shook his hand. So it doesn't matter who is the president. It's still the people's house, and if you don't get excited going into the White House, it doesn't matter. So it just doesn't matter, then it's you got no blood flowing, because it's still really cool. It's going to be here. It's been here before us. It's going to be here after us. It's well maintained. It's a special place. Looking at the portraits of the first ladies and the presidents up there, reading the history about it and who did what, it's just pretty special. Oh, last thing. So coming in, I take blood thinners on there for my high blood pressure. I cut easily. So if I hit myself, I cut and my skin, it stops bleeding. I always carry a Band-Aid. Guess what? I forgot to bring an extra Band-Aid. Okay. So I'm there and I'm bleeding, and I had gotten a different, and I'm holding up my hand. So finally I did go to actually a very nice captain in the United States Army that was standing guard at one point. Hey, do you know where I can get a Band-Aid? He goes, yes, sir. So he goes, he comes back a minute later, and he gives me a Band-Aid. I go to open it up, and I put it on my hand. You won't believe this. This is complete coincidence. It's Dodger blue. So even the Band-Aid that I got, I think it's just a coincidence. But I'm going to say they changed Band-Aids for the Dodgers that day just to match everything. That's not true, probably. But yeah, it was pretty cool that I had the Band-Aid. So anyways, just had a great experience. The next day I was supposed to fly back on Tuesday. So I was going to be gone less than 40 hours. I still was. And I kept getting Delta changed. My flight delayed by an hour. Get another text delayed by 2 hours. Delayed by 3 hours. Delayed by 4 hours. Finally it was delayed by 5 hours. So I decided to catch an Uber. And if you're ever in D.C., that's why I want to say this. If you're ever in D.C., go see the National Museum of the United States Army. It was only open in 2020. It's an amazing place. They did things right. And I caught an Uber. It's right outside Fort Belvedere, but it's on the outside so any guest can come. It's free, and they've just done an amazing job, and you get to see the history. And this year especially, we're celebrating our 250th birthday, the United States Army. On June 14th, 1775, the 13 original colonies got together and formed the Continental Army as we stand today. Our first general, as you know, was General George Washington. So our army is actually older than our country, which, we use July 4, 1776. So this June 14th, we commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Army. And it's just a great time for us to celebrate the men and women that have come before us and the different things they've done. And when you walk into the museum, there's 190 different battles that are shown in there that we have fought with the ribbons that go with it. And whenever you see a flag, by the way, you'll see them at a lot of command places, the Secretary of the Army or different bases. There'll be a flag with all these different ribbons hanging by. And those ribbons all have the name that are up there of all the different battles or wars that we fought in. And there's 190 of them. And they're very thin ribbons, so you can, believe it or not, you get all 190 on the flag. So it's just a little bit tidbit information on there to give you a sense of history. But anyways, my point is I spent a lot of time there. I went through the museum alone. It was fun. I had a docent, that West Point graduate, now been retired for 10 years. So obviously we had a good time going through it. And I had a one-on-one tour of the United States Army Museum. But it was very special. The reason I'm telling you this, I highly encourage you to do that. It was a $40 Uber ride from downtown DC. So if you get an opportunity, go check out the museum. They have a nice little cafe in there, good food. They got a gift store. They got a lot of kids interactive things for them. But then you get to see the history and some of the special things. They have a beautiful theater that go in there, one of those ones that shakes and goes with the sounds and stuff like that. So they did a classic. Then I decided to check to see, my wife and I had donated money to the museum to be built, and then they had given us a brick. So I asked on the way out, I go, hey, is there a way? And sure enough, they look it up, and right outside the hallway there on G2. And I went and checked out the museum, checked out our brick, and I didn't know what to say. You only get so many letters. But it just says, grateful to our Army. And they said Mario and Ann Guerra, and then I put CASA. But I'm glad that it's there, something my kids can see sometime, or my grandkids actually can see. But it was special to be able to be part of that and be part of the United States Army in a small way that I am. So, okay, so that was my trip. I get back home. Let me tell you what friendship is. I'm not sure I'm supposed to say this, but I will. I had Wi-Fi on the plane. So, remember I left at almost 10 o'clock at night DC time, which is 7 here in California. I had texted my wife. Normally she picks me up at the airport. I go, don't worry, honey. I'll get an Uber because it's too late. So I'm texting with Lieutenant Colonel Victor Shen. He's been the task force chair here for SWORD, LA SWORD. For many years, he's become a really good friend. So we're texting. He goes, hey, do you need a ride? I go, no, I'll figure out an Uber. And he's texting me. He goes, it's really hard at the LAX Uber. You have to take a bus, go outside, do this and that. I go, thanks. Okay, I realize that. It's going to be a pain in the neck. So when I'm getting close to landing, he tells me, hey, I'm picking you up. And I said, no, you're not picking me up. It's too late at night. He goes, well, I'm already on the 105 freeway. So sure enough, when I landed, when I get there at 12:58 or 48 or something, he texted me, I'm outside there waiting for you on 2C, whatever. And here was a lieutenant colonel of the United States Army picking me up at the LAX coming back from this. Folks, that's what friends are for. And he told me, he made excuses like I had just been working out. I had to work out late night. I went to this pho place, by the way. I figured you'd be hungry. I got you lomo saltado here. Wait till you try this. I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what a nice thing that is. A gesture. I even thought that I knew I'd be hungry. So he takes me home, and sure enough, long day, exhausted. I'd been up 20 hours. And then I sat down to check my mail. And sure enough, I had this lomo saltado at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. It was pretty amazing. Okay. I'll tell you the name. I just forgot what it is. So anyways, too much information, but I wanted to detail, take the opportunities to do things that are special like that. It cost me an arm and a leg to get a flight that late, with a day's notice. And I had a hard time finding flights to come back. I bought a flight to go and a flight to come back instead of round trip. Found a hotel a couple blocks from DC, the Capitol Hilton Garden or something. Anyways, the point is, I have this pretty special memory. And the point is, I just bored you with it, but I had to share, okay? I was there when the 2024 Los Angeles Dodgers World Series champions were in the White House being honored by President Trump. That's a cool memory that I'll be able to share. So we'll put a lot of photos in throughout this video, and I hope you enjoyed my travels or not. I know this is kind of a weird one on there, but if you have other ideas or other things you'd like me to talk about, folks, we're getting better. Brandon is our cameraman, our production team, and so forth. I got Hans and Natalie that are helping on other things, so we got a good crew. But I hope you enjoy our shows. This was totally off the wall. This was just for fun. And Brandon, we'll get a lot of pictures in there going through. So if you lasted this long, thanks for sharing on there, and thanks for watching on there. Thanks to our sponsor, Financial Partners, that makes this available for us to do this. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talking Downey with Mayor Guerra. Go Dodgers.